My mom told me I was a disgrace. My dad said I was throwing away my future. All because I married the janitor they never even bothered to talk to. Fast forward 6 years, they got an invitation to the grand opening of the 5-star hotel that we own. If you have a minute, let me tell you a story that means the world to me. Maybe it'll remind you that love, not approval, builds the strongest foundation. My name is Nathan Carter. I was 22 when this all began. I had just graduated from business school in Connecticut. My parents were proud, until they found out who I was dating. Her name was Jessica Moore, but everyone called her Jessie. She worked as a janitor at the college I went to. Most people walked past her without even noticing. I didn't. She had this quiet strength about her, always smiling no matter how tough her shift was. We'd talk during breaks, sometimes after class. One day turned into a week, and that week turned into something much deeper. My parents, Elaine and Richard, were not happy. To them, Jessie wasn't wife material. My dad literally said, "You're throwing away your future on a mop girl." My mom called me blind, said I was ruining the Carter name. My younger sister Brittany laughed and said I'd come crawling back after I got bored. None of them ever took the time to know Jessie. They saw her job and judged her whole life. When I told them I was marrying her, they cut me off. No more money, no support, just a cold goodbye. I wasn't surprised. I knew how they were. But I won't lie, it still hurt. Jessie and I packed what we had, said goodbye to the house I grew up in, and moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment across the state. We didn't have much, just each other. No fancy car, no savings, no backup plan. But we had love, and that was enough to start something. The first few months were hard. Jessie took night shifts at a cleaning company. I worked days at a diner and picked up tutoring gigs when I could. We were tired, broke, and sometimes scared. But every night, when we sat together on our hand-me-down couch, we still smiled. I remember one night, I was feeling like I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. I told Jessie I was sorry she had to struggle because of me. She held my hand and said, "We'll build our life like I mop floors, one swipe at a time." That line stuck with me more than any business lecture ever did. I didn't know it then, but it would be the start of everything. Our apartment was small, barely enough for a mattress, a secondhand table, and a stove that clicked more than it cooked. The walls were thin, the windows didn't shut right, and the fridge groaned like it wanted to retire. We lived in a neighborhood where sirens were more common than silence, but it was ours. Jessie worked night shifts at a cleaning company, scrubbing offices while the city slept. I worked days, waiting tables at a diner, and tutoring high school students in math. Sometimes we wouldn't see each other for more than a few minutes a day, trading kisses like clock-ins and clock-outs. But no matter how tired we were, we made time to sit together for a quick dinner or just to hold hands. We were happy, but we were also struggling. Bills kept stacking up on the kitchen counter. The fridge finally gave out, and we had to keep our milk in a cooler with ice. Rent was due, and our account was almost empty. I never told Jessie how bad it really was. One night, after she left for work, I opened the small box where I kept the last piece of my old life, a gold watch my grandfather had given me when I graduated. I stared at it for a long time before finally walking to the pawn shop 2 blocks down. I got just enough to cover rent. I didn't tell Jessie. That same week, everything hit me at once. I came home to a dark apartment, sat on our mattress, and just broke down. I felt like a failure, like maybe my parents were right, maybe I had thrown it all away. I buried my face in my hands, trying to hold back tears, but they came anyway. Jessie came home early that night. She found me sitting there, eyes red, barely able to look at her. She sat beside me, pulled me close, and let me cry. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "You don't deserve this. You deserve so much more." She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she smiled and said softly, "We build from the ground up, just like mopping floors, one swipe at a time." I looked at her, really looked at her, and in that moment I realized something. We weren't losing. We were building. Slowly, quietly, but we were building something real. That line stayed with me. It still does. Every morning before my shift at the diner, I'd pass by the same motel on the corner. The place was a mess, dusty front windows, trash near the entrance, and a front desk clerk who looked like he hated his life. Guests complained loudly about dirty towels, stained carpets, and cold showers. It was hard to watch. But the more I saw, the more I thought, this could be better. So much better. One slow morning at the diner, I grabbed a napkin and started writing ideas. What would I change? Clean lobbies, friendly staff, quick service, soft music, real coffee, not that watery stuff from a vending machine. I filled every corner of that napkin with notes. That night, I showed Jessie. Her eyes lit up. "You've got something here," she said. "Don't stop writing." So I didn't. We started staying up late, me with my notebook, her with a cup of tea, talking about what our dream hotel would look like. She had the best ideas, things I hadn't thought of, like scent. Guests remember how a place smells, she said. Or tiny details like folded towels shaped like animals. Jessie knew hospitality from the ground up. She didn't just clean rooms. She understood what made them feel welcoming. One night, Jessie said something wild. What if we cleaned that motel for free? Just to learn. Watch what customers complain about, what they like. I laughed at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. So we offered. The motel owner didn't care, just shrugged and let us. We cleaned the lobby, the hallways, even some guest rooms. We paid attention to everything. What time guests came and left, what they asked for, where the staff messed up. One afternoon, while I was cleaning a window, a man I used to tutor walked in. Mr. Lewis, a retired accountant with a sharp eye and a soft heart. He looked surprised. Nathan, what are you doing here? I told him everything. He listened carefully, then asked to see my notes. I showed him my business plan draft, shaky as it was. A week later, he called me back and said, "You've got something real here. I'm in. $15,000. Make it work." I almost dropped the phone. Jessie screamed when I told her. We used the money to buy supplies, print flyers, build a simple website. And just like that, Crystal Keys Cleaning Company was born. We cleaned small rental homes first, then Airbnbs, then a local inn. Our work was spotless. Clients started recommending us without us even asking. Jessie handled the crews. I handled the clients and schedules. It was hard, early mornings, late nights, sore backs, but we didn't care. For the first time, people saw value in what we did. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were building something of our own, one swipe at a time. Crystal Keys Cleaning Company took off faster than we expected. At first, it was just Jessie and me, lugging buckets and vacuums from one Airbnb to another. We made every bed perfectly, scrubbed every surface until it sparkled, and left handwritten thank you notes for the owner. People started noticing. Reviews mentioned our names. Calls kept coming in. Soon, we couldn't handle it alone. Jessie trained a small team, mostly other night shift cleaners she used to work with. She had a way of leading that made people want to work hard. Kind but firm. I took care of the emails, the phones, the invoices. I learned how to talk to clients, how to sell trust more than services. We landed a contract with a local 2-star hotel, then another one with a 3-star that had been struggling with cleanliness. That was our turning point. We lived simply. No vacations, no new clothes, no fancy dinners. Every dollar we made went back into the business. Better equipment, uniforms, website upgrade. Our apartment was still tiny, but we had goals now, and that kept us going. We were tired all the time, but never unhappy. Jessie and I still found time to sit together at the end of the day, even if it was just 10 quiet minutes before sleep. One weekend, my cousin Amy called. She'd just come back from a Carter family gathering. My name had come up. Apparently, my parents had heard about Crystal Keys through someone in town. My sister Brittany had laughed and said, "Well, look who's made it, janitor royalty." My mom had added something like, "He'll come back when he's tired of cleaning toilets." Amy apologized for telling me, but I told her not to worry. I appreciated her honesty. I didn't say anything after I hung up. I didn't get angry. I didn't write back or try to prove them wrong. I just sat for a while thinking. Jessie found me sitting on the edge of the bed and asked what was wrong. I smiled and said, "Nothing. Just thinking about what's next." Because the truth was, I already knew what we were building, and they had no idea how far we planned to take it. So I got up, opened my notebook, and started jotting down more ideas. Jessie joined me with her tea and leaned her head on my shoulder. Let them laugh. We were still writing the first chapter. The real breakthrough came one afternoon when I was cleaning a hallway at the 3-star hotel we had a contract with. An older man stood by the front desk, watching quietly. He had this tired but thoughtful look, like someone who'd seen everything twice already. Later, the manager introduced him as Mr. Callahan, the owner. He invited me to grab coffee the next day. I thought maybe he wanted to complain or offer more work. Instead, he said, "I'm tired, Nathan. This isn't fun anymore, but I have a place down the coast. A small hotel I've let fall apart. It needs love. If you and your wife want it, I'll sell it to you for cheap. I just want to see it in good hands." At first, I thought it was a joke, but he was serious. We drove down that weekend to see the property. It was rough, peeling paint, leaky roof, mildew in every corner. But the bones were good. And the view? Breathtaking. The ocean seemed to whisper, "Start here." Jessie squeezed my hand. "Let's do it." We pooled every dollar we had, emptied our savings, sold the car, even used an old emergency credit card. We got approved for a small loan to cover the rest. The banker raised an eyebrow when we said we wanted to run a hotel. I didn't blame him. We were a couple of cleaners trying to buy a broken-down building, but we believed in it. Renovation was brutal. Mold behind the walls, plumbing that hadn't worked in years, zoning permits that took months. Jessie and I worked sunup to sundown, often with only sandwiches and coffee to get us through. Our old crew members came to help on weekends, scraping walls, painting, laying floors. We couldn't pay much, but they believed in us too. Jessie took charge of the interior. She picked calming blues and sandy beige tones to match the coastline. She handpicked every piece of furniture, adding soft blankets, handmade soaps, and welcome cards in each room. She wanted it to feel like home. I focused on the team. I didn't want just employees. I wanted a family. I trained everyone personally, taught them to greet guests with warmth, to listen with care, to treat every guest like someone special. After nearly a year of sweat, debt, and endless setbacks, we finally opened the doors. We named it the Shoreline Haven. Our first guests were a retired couple from New York. They left us a handwritten note. "You've built something beautiful here. We'll be back." Jessie cried when she read it. It wasn't just a hotel. It was the beginning of a dream we'd carried through dirt, tears, and broken ceiling. We didn't just open a business. We opened a new chapter. Within a year, the Shoreline Haven became more than just a hotel. It became the place people talked about. Guests loved it. Word spread quickly. We stayed fully booked most weekends, and positive reviews started flooding in. A travel blogger wrote a glowing article about us, and soon after, we were featured in a regional magazine under Hidden Coastal Gem. It felt surreal. Jessie and I would read each review together, still amazed that people were choosing our place, calling it peaceful, beautiful, special. Every corner of that hotel had a piece of our story in it, and people could feel it. Then the calls started coming. Small investors, boutique travel agents, people who wanted in. They offered money, partnerships, brand deals. We didn't say yes to everyone, but one investor's offer felt right. He believed in our story, not just the numbers. With his help, we opened a second property in Vermont. A quiet mountain retreat, cozy and elegant, just like Jessie imagined. Suddenly, we were a brand. 2 hotels, a growing team. Our story was picked up by a business blog that shared how we started from scratch. Me, a business grad with no money, and Jessie, a former janitor who designed the heart of it all. Later that year, I attended a small business conference. I ran into an old college friend. He looked shocked when I told him what I was doing now. "Wait," he said, "you own the Shoreline Haven? And now Vermont too?" I nodded, smiling. He laughed and shook his head. "Man, you proved everyone wrong. You know your dad saw that article? My dad plays golf with him. He said Richard nearly spit out his drink when he saw your name. Couldn't believe the janitor made it." For a second, that old sting returned. I remembered those words, the judgment, the cold goodbye. I felt it all again, but only for a second. I told Jessie that night, while we were watching the sunset from the Vermont lodge. She didn't say much, just looked out the window and said softly, "Don't let them get in your head." I smiled and kissed her forehead. "They'll come to us," I said. "Let them watch." And so we kept going. Not for revenge, not even to prove anyone wrong, but because we loved what we were building, and no one could take that from us. After Vermont, we knew we were ready for something bigger. Jessie found the listing first, an old seaside estate 2 hours north of where it all began. It was stunning even in its decay. Cracked marble floors, sun-bleached walls, vines growing around broken windows. But it sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean, and it had the kind of history money couldn't fake. The estate had once been a private club for the wealthy back in the 1920s. Now it was abandoned, weathered by time. But Jessie looked at it like she did everything else, with vision. "This could be a 5-star resort," she whispered, almost afraid to say it out loud. We ran the numbers. It would be tight, but with help from our Vermont investor and a careful loan, we bought it. Renovation was the hardest thing we'd ever done. We hired a proper team this time, architects, contractors, designers, but we were involved every step. Jessie picked out every fabric, every stone tile. I handled staff recruitment, training, logistics, marketing. We named it the Mariner's Grace. A tribute to the sea and to Jessie, my anchor through it all. We poured everything into it, and slowly it came to life. Word spread quickly. Locals were curious. Travel bloggers picked it up early. We positioned it as an elite, peaceful escape for those who wanted more than just luxury, those who wanted soul. A 5-star experience, but with warmth and meaning behind every detail. By the time we announced the grand opening, it had already become the talk of the town. One evening, a week before the event, I sat at my desk holding a stack of cream-colored envelopes. Each one was hand-addressed in gold ink. My parents, my sister Brittany, uncles, even distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Jessie walked in and froze when she saw the names. "You're inviting them?" she asked softly. I nodded. "They need to see it." She looked down. "What if they cause a scene? Or worse, what if they don't care at all?" I got up and walked over, taking her hands in mine. "I don't need their approval. I just want them to see what we built, with nothing, with love, with work they never respected." She didn't argue, just nodded and gave me that quiet, steady smile that had carried me through every storm. We mailed the invitations the next morning. The guest list filled fast. Journalists, investors, celebrities, influencers. But among all those names, the ones that meant the most were the ones who once told me I was ruining my life. Let them come, I thought. Let them see. The grand opening of the Mariner's Grace was everything we dreamed of and more. The valet line stretched around the driveway, a string of luxury cars gleaming under the golden coastal sun. Guests arrived in tuxedos and gowns, camera crews captured every detail, and live music floated through the air like something out of a movie. Then I saw them. Elaine, my mother, stepped out of a sleek Blacktown car, wrapped in pearls and pride. My father, Richard, stood beside her, squinting at the building like he couldn't believe it was real. Brittany followed, heels clicking, already scrolling through her phone like she was too busy to be impressed. But the look in their eyes told the truth: shock, confusion, and maybe even a little wonder. They walked in like royalty, heads held high, but their eyes scanned every inch. The marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the staff in pressed uniforms welcoming each guest with grace. Elaine looked around, lips parted slightly. "This place is extraordinary," she whispered, barely able to hide her awe. Richard, ever the businessman, started asking questions. Who financed this? Who designed the layout? Who trained the staff? He didn't know I was standing just behind him. "Most of that was Jesse," I said casually. They turned. For a moment, they didn't quite register me. Maybe they expected a waiter or a manager. Definitely not their son, dressed in a tailored suit, calm and collected. Brittany blinked. "Wait, do you work here?" I smiled and motioned toward the elevator. "Let me show you the rooftop lounge." We rode up in silence, the tension rising with every floor. When the doors opened, the view stole their words. A perfect sunset over the water, soft jazz playing, guests sipping champagne under string light. I stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, raising a glass. "Thank you all for being here to celebrate the launch of the Mariner's Grace. And thank you to the person who stood beside me when no one else did." Jessie stepped out then, in a flowing navy gown, radiant and calm. I reached for her hand. "To the woman who once mopped floors beside me and helped build an empire." There was a long pause. Then I heard it, my mother Elaine, softly crying behind me. No words, no applause, just silence, and the truth shining brighter than any chandelier. The last guests trickled out as the music faded and the ocean breeze grew cooler. Staff cleared champagne glasses and folded tablecloth, their smiles just as bright as when the night began. Jessie and I stood by the balcony, hand in hand, soaking in the moment. But I knew it wasn't over yet, not quite. Elaine and Richard approached, moving slower than usual. There was no more pretending, no more judgment in their eyes, just something quieter. Regret, maybe, or confusion. "Nathan," my father said, clearing his throat, "we wanted to speak with you privately." Jessie gave my hand a squeeze and stepped away, watching from the terrace nearby. I nodded and followed them into the now empty dining room. Elaine was the first to speak. "I just want to say we're sorry for how we treated you. We didn't know how serious it was, how capable you two were." Richard added, "We were trying to protect you. You had such a bright future, and we didn't want you to throw it away on, well, you know." He stopped short, realizing how it sounded. But it was already out there. Brittany, standing behind them with her arms crossed, rolled her eyes. "You guys just got lucky. This kind of stuff doesn't happen for people like you unless something lands in your lap." I turned to her slowly. "No," I said, calm but firm. "This isn't luck. Luck is what you call it when people you underestimated outwork." She looked away, but I kept going. "I didn't build this to prove anything to you. I built it because Jessie believed in me when you didn't. Because we were willing to clean toilets, haul trash, and work 15-hour days when everyone else gave up on us." Elaine looked down, eyes moist. "Nathan, we do respect you now. We didn't understand what Jessie meant to you. If you still see her as the janitor, then you don't respect me," I said quietly. "She's not just my wife. She's the heart of everything we've built." Richard tried one last angle. "Well, if you ever want help expanding, I could connect you with a few investors I know." I shook my head. "Thanks, but no. We've gotten this far without your advice. We'll keep going just fine." There was silence. Then Elaine whispered, "We just wanted a way back in." I looked at them, really looked, and felt no anger. Just peace. "I don't hate you," I said. "But this, Jessie and me, our life, it's not something you can just walk into now. Not unless you come with real respect." They nodded slowly, understanding. As they turned to leave, I looked back at the terrace. Jessie was still there, watching, the ocean breeze catching her hair. She smiled, a little sad, a little proud. And that was all I needed. The party was over, but the night was still warm. Jessie and I slipped away from the hotel and walked barefoot down to the beach, just like we used to when things were simple, when all we had were big dreams and empty pockets. We sat close on the sand, the waves brushing the shore in slow, gentle rhythm. The hotel lights twinkled behind us, casting a soft glow on the water. Jessie rested her head on my shoulder, and for a while, we didn't say anything. I still remember that tiny apartment, she said quietly. The broken fridge, the second-hand couch, the late-night noodles. I laughed. I remember you taping the bathroom mirror back together with duct tape. She smiled and reached into her purse. I have something for you, she said, placing a small velvet box in my hand. I opened it and stared, stunned. It was my grandfather's watch. The one I pawned all those years ago just to make rent. You got it back? I asked, my voice catching. I found the shop 2 years ago. I've had it ever since. I was just waiting for the right moment. I didn't say anything. I just pulled her into a hug, tighter than I had in a long time. We raised 2 glasses of sparkling cider and clinked them together under the stars. To everything we built, I whispered. And everything's still to come, she said. A few weeks later, a letter arrived at the hotel. Real paper, handwritten. I recognized the handwriting immediately. It was from Brittany. I was wrong, it began. I was cruel. I judged Jessie without ever knowing her, and I treated you like your love was a mistake. I see now how wrong I was. I don't expect forgiveness overnight, but I'd like to start over, if you'll let me. I read it twice, then again. Not out of anger, but surprise. It was the first real thing she'd ever written to me. No sarcasm, no defense, just honesty. I showed it to Jessie. She didn't say much, just nodded. I didn't know what the future held for me and Brittany, or for the rest of my family, but I knew one thing for sure. This time, whatever came next, it would be on our terms. Me, Jessie, and the life we built together. One swipe at a time. What's your take? Was Nathan right to walk away and protect the life he built with Jessie, or should he have given his family another chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your opinion. And if you enjoy real-life stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next.